Well, let's shift gears kind of in a radical way. What's your favorite part of this program?
My favorite part, if I got to pick, would have to be, I love the interviews, don't get me wrong.
Yep.
I love the hockey fights.
Yep.
But above and beyond all that, my favorite part's the police blotter.
And that's what we are going to get into next,
Come
my
on.
friend. It's been a busy summer. We're not going to go near Roger Clemens or Tiger Woods. You know, they've had too much airtime and ink devoted to them already.
That's right.
But let's start.
A lot of pages.
Oh, my God. I got writer's cramp with this. Let's start in Jacksonville, Florida.
All right.
Last week, Jacksonville Jaguars receiver Kasim Osgood leapt out a second-floor window to escape a gun-wielding man who had attacked him and a 19-year-old woman, according to police. I am not making this up. The armed intruder exchanged gunfire with his ex-girlfriend, Mackenzie Ray Putnall, after putting a gun to her head. Osgood sustained some minor bruises during the attack and while fleeing. Julian Armand Bartoletto of Jacksonville was arrested on charges of aggravated battery, false imprisonment, armed robbery, burglary, and violation of an injunction. He was being held, surprisingly, without bond. Now, Putnall and Osgood were just watching TV around 11 o'clock in an upstairs game room when a man walked in with his face covered with a plastic bag and pointed a gun at them. Now, let me tell you kids out there, if you're going to go after folks with guns, don't put a plastic bag around your head. It's dangerous, okay? So he's saying he can't believe you're with that guy. The man pulled Putnall around the room by her hair and hit her with the gun and his fists before hitting Osgood in the head with his gun. Osgood jammed a chair under the door as the other two ran around and jumped out a window to the lawn below and went to a neighbor's house to call police. Now, I never recall Detroit Red Wings goalie Chris Osgood jumping out of any windows to avoid gunfire. Do you?
No, and that's a great story because, first of all, as he's wailing her around, he's just sitting there, evidently,
Yes.
and there must be some kind of comfort knowing that if you're with a person at that point that she has a gun too, she can protect you if needed.
Yeah, that's just what you need.
Thought.
And I'm sure the team was happy he was in a gunfight with a couple of folks. Here's another beauty. Last month, New York's Jets star wide receiver Braylon Edwards told a police officer he had been partying and drinking before being pulled over in his luxury SUV. And he suggested to the cops that they just leave and let him go home in a cab, but prosecutors said that didn't happen. He was released without bail, and this is a case that could compound his legal problems because he was in trouble in Cleveland last year after a fight in a bar. Now, a breath test showed Edwards had a blood alcohol level twice the legal limit after he was stopped around 5 a.m. in Manhattan. 4 other people were with him, including DeBrickashaw Ferguson. You know, I bet if you had a son, you would have named him DeBrickashaw.
You know what? That was my second choice.
And after what, Bobby?
Paul.
And Vern Gulston, defensive end. Officers were told that he'd had a couple of drinks, and he kept asking them why he wasn't given a field sobriety test. When I was at Michigan, I used to get those. And also, the team has a safe ride program, so he could have simply made a call, no questions asked. Yep. So Braylon Edwards, by the way, this came hours after he had helped beat the Patriots.
Right.
And he was charged with the, taunting or the celebration rule.
Yep.
His coach wasn't too happy about that. So Braylon Edwards is going to be in some trouble. And, you know, I don't remember Buffalo Sabres goalie Donnie Edwards doing this stuff when he played. Do you?
Jack Edwards either. But I love the part where you say, you know what? Why don't you just go along and I'll go home and we'll be all right. That works a lot around here.
Yeah. We'll hear more about advice to the police in a few minutes.
Brickashaw.
Here's DeBrickashaw. From Storrs, Connecticut, a fight between the University of Connecticut football team's place kicker and a backup linebacker led to arrest of both earlier in, last month actually, on charges of breach of the peace. Kicker Richard Taggart and linebacker Jerome Williams were both arrested and charged with misdemeanors following a fight in a parking lot at their apartment complex where roughly 1,200 other students lived. And Randy Edsel, the coach, said that both of them were fighting each other. He called the tussle crazy stuff that kids will do and said any discipline will be handled internally. They both were released on $500 bonds. They were due back in court last month as well. I'm not sure how that ended up, but You know, defensive end Kendall Reese said there's nothing wrong with conflict. It's part of the family. You've got to have intensity in a team. When we're not fighting, that's when you should be concerned. So David Tegart and Jerome Williams are making news, and I don't hear Jerome Aginla causing fights with his teammates, do you?
Or Tiger Williams.
No,
Either
absolutely
way.
not.
Wasn't there a story last year in the police blotter that it was a kicker and a defensive back, I think it was, and didn't one of them get shot in the leg? The kicker got shot in the leg, didn't he?
I think so.
That must be a trend going around in college football now.
You notice a trend? I haven't heard any hockey players mentioned
They don't
in
do
trouble.
that.
Nope.
None of their girlfriends have guns.
Illinois offensive lineman Hugh Thornton was arrested last weekend following a fight at a bar, and as punishment, he didn't start against Ohio State. I should have mentioned, as Braylon Edwards' punishment, he had to sit out the first quarter. Boy, that's going to cause him to think about it next time, huh?
They fine him?
I don't know, but I think the league might. Thornton was not charged in the fight, but he allegedly admitted to using someone else's ID to get into the bar, and he could have his court supervision from a 2009 arrest revoked because of that. Thornton could do up to a year in jail for this earlier misdemeanor offense. And you know, when Joe Thornton was here as a 19-year-old, I don't remember him doing any of this.
You don't see Sean Thornton getting involved in any of that
No,
either.
you don't. No, you don't.
Doesn't happen.
From the world of college football still, a Pitt defensive back who was kicked off the team hours before the Panthers' 31-3 loss to Miami was arrested before that.